I'm just gonna jump in real quick, and then we'll let you go too. So it's like everyone here has heard about LastPass and like people's private keys getting hacked there too. And if we're going more in that direction, though, it's like how do we avoid that situation being detrimental to the space? Like lots of hacks happening, or people just losing funds because they're saving their private keys in these things that have vulnerabilities.
So if you look into the Aave, and particularly the BGD, that's actually one of the things that they are doing much more than other lending protocol. We have seen that us and Chaos Lab and many others that participate. So it's a whole group thing. So we are trying to be decentralized, but I think it's all a group things of security. And we see that, and also, of course, the Bybit hack taught us that actually security is many, many things, and it's a lot about process and ownership.
But I think you're raising a good point in that sense that as we are moving toward having more and more users, it is likely that not everyone is just going to have a wallet or things like that, but it's more going to be hosted in some custodial provider or things like that. And there is definitely like a risk of this type of centralization because like if this get compromised, then you get access to a lot of users. That said, the likelihood of this compromise to happen might be not as high as the likelihood of like individual person having like issue with our wallet and everything. So there is a risk with centralization of like information, logging and everything, but it might be like a risk that is okay to take with respect to like the broader ecosystem.
All right.
Wait a second. I want to like start with the first hot take for this panel, right? We don't want to be boring. Okay, so like I think that the ecosystem, like the blockchain ecosystem, the Ethereum ecosystem, we're very inconsistent about the things we care about. And I'll give an example. We always say we are afraid of the single point of failure, the key, the passphrase, right? Everybody heard about it. Everybody knows this, right? So like what is the most promising authentication method that everybody talks about now? Passkeys. A single key on your device controlled by Apple. So like where's the, like, like I'm not saying passkeys are bad. Passkeys have advantages. But honestly, if we're really concerned about a single key, passkeys don't solve that. They're just a single key stored differently. Most people think that the passkey is stored in the secure enclave. Most situations it's actually not, right? But that like has to go really deep into the attack, and it's much simpler to just say, hey, look how easy it was to click through this login and to get to the app, because we really didn't care about the security. We just wanted you to get through as quickly as possible, right? So like we're coming from a perspective, obviously we're coming more from the institutional side of things. Our clients serve a lot of users, but like we are coming from a deeper thinking about this. This is why we went so deep into MPC technology, because we actually think a single point of failure is a problem. And if a single point of failure is a problem, that there's a few ways to solve it. MPC is like a very promising one. I will say, I think we can even MPC the passkey process, right? But we should actually think about protecting the user and not just like saying we care about security today, but tomorrow we just want to show a better KPI of our app, how much time it takes to log in, so we replace the security with just something as quick as possible.
There are probably also like different solutions based on who you are, how much value are you going to hold, what kind of like the threat model. Because if it's like, my mom or like people that are not necessarily technical, they just have, a small wallet with like $100, whatever, this type of passkey and everything might be okay for them because you want something which is simple, accessible, so that a lot of people can use it. However, if you get to a place where, you have like 100 million or you have like holding like something really, really significant, then your threat model and like the actor that you have to protect against are different. And then you might want, to have some additional layer of protection.
All right, so let's say that you can predict the future. You have a crystal ball, you're looking into it, and you want to, let's be like a little dark right now. Let's think about doomsday. What could be the worst thing that we all should look out for in the security space?
You want to try or I try first?
If something bad happens at the consensus level of Ethereum, it's probably going to be a bit of a doomsday scenario. We saw it with a testnet I forgot the name of the testnet of Ethereum like a couple of months ago where there was an incident and short story, like they could not kind of restart the things properly and they had to fork and create a new testnet. If that happened on Ethereum like it happened, a couple of years ago with the DAO hack, that's pretty bad for the ecosystem.
I agree, but there are much simpler things that can be actually more determinantal. Even your Twitter get hacked. For many of the protocol is not great, and Discord. So we have seen that people are taking very small attack surfaces and doing terrible things. So we are thinking of the most sort of critical things in the infrastructure going bottom up, which is great. But actually, even the things which are connecting Web 2 to Web 3 are very tricky.
But that's not doomsday. That's happening on a daily basis.
That's tomorrow. That's Wednesday. No, so I think there's a theme that I think we can see in a lot of places, which is, again, as an ecosystem, we really value transparency over security. Now, one of the places where I'm concerned about this is this entire notion of if you're a protocol and you hold, I don't know, $100 billion, I should see your multisig. I should know who's on the multisig. And it should be more than 3 because I'm going to be concerned if it's not. Like, I think this hides a lot of, like a doomsday thing would be personal attacks on like multisig signers. I don't know why we think it's impossible. Like that, what, you have like 3 people signing protocol and you really think nobody can find out who they are? Like I think if somebody really wants, they already know. So that's very concerning.
And if you have 3 signers on a multisig, there might be all of them in the same room during conference, right?
So I was going to say, what do we do about this, right? Like we all have contributed to DAOs, we've launched DAOs, we've been a part of the ecosystem that has these multi-sig signers. So what are the things that we could do to make sure that these things don't happen? Best practices.
So I think for DAOs, one of the things I've noticed is that in a lot of cases, there is like a delegate system and, there is a couple of people with a lot of delegation to them. And what I have noticed, working with some of the DAO is that some of the delegates are not technical people. They don't understand what signing a transaction means. They don't understand what are the different risks. So probably the first step toward helping like the DAOs and things like that is education with the delegate, because some of the DAO out there it's pretty scary when you look at, like the process they have, the operational security they have, because it's just non-existing.
I agree. There's OPSEC to it, but there's more than OPSEC. There's diversity, and also we can do many things with tools. And the BGD, we have the Chrome, but others are building tools. AI is getting better. We can do a lot of things to help people. Of course, training people is great, but technology can help you, like who got the signature, who deployed the contract, is it old school, not school, who audited that. A lot of things, we have seen a lot of information with this information, and a lot of things here is public, so there is actually opportunity, even on DeFi Llama or things like this. Understanding who did what and at what time. And some of it you need people and services, but some of it you can use open source tools.
What I want to see, like big DAOs, right? Because this is the kind of thing that happens from the top. I want to see a big DAO leader say, I don't care about the Twitter rage I'm going to get. I'm going to prioritize security first. And the way I'm going to prioritize security first is I will not care about peer pressure. I will not care about what they will say. And I'm just going to make a decision. Like, we have fiduciary responsibility for board members in the real world, right? So they're going to say, I have fiduciary responsibility for my clients, for my users, and I'm going to choose the best possible technology regardless of what people say. And then they can start asking questions, because until they do that, they kind of have to do the thing that everybody does. They have to take the same multisig. They have to take the same process. They have to take the same approach. Once they do that and say, I'm a leader, I'm making a decision, this is my tech perspective on what is the best security, we can start asking them, like, transparency. What kind of transparency matter? What kind of transparency doesn't matter? How do you do the consideration between transparency and security? Because sometimes they go one against the other. So how do you choose? Within that, we can start choosing tools. We can start choosing processes. But I think until they do that, that's like a bit of we're a bit stuck in the same tools, the same capabilities, everybody doing the same thing. It might be that we only do something else if like a bad event happens, but it might be that somebody comes up and starts this process, but it needs to be the right kind of people that basically do that.
Completely disagree. Transparency, that people are doing, that people use things to confuse. Transparency and security can be aligned. It's just you need to invest enough. When you invest enough, I know people say, but transparency and security actually are very much aligned. We can see, but I understand but what you are coming from. But I think we have zero knowledge. We have a lot of things. We can do transparency
Right.
with
So
security.
I agree. Like you need to start looking at the grays, but it starts from like I do not value transparency over everything else.
I agree.
Like it's not like the one thing that is, and that's right now the situation, right? Like transparency. If you look now, everybody here, right? You look now at some protocol doing a multisig and they have one signer. You're going to, by definition, assume this is one guy. We know the tech today supports this not being one guy. But like, there's going to be such amount of rage about this that they will definitely change that, right? Like basically, it's like, because the thing we care about is, maybe it's not even transparency, maybe it's perceived transparency. Because we don't actually know who's the signer, but we have perceived transparency about the
That's I
process.
agree. That's I agree. And there's perceived security too.
Yeah, perceived security, perceived. It's like a lot of that's not very promising.
I'm not sure that people put so much emphasis into like transparency and this type of thing as of today, because, I mean, most of them, even the DAO, to know who are the different delegates and who are like the different people that can vote, even that it's not always straightforward. Some DAO do it well, but not all of them. So I would agree that transparency is probably not really the main things for most of the DAO, at least the one I've worked with.
How do you guys think AI is going to disrupt security?
It's going to make initially things way worse and later way better. That's my thing.
Yeah, so there are definitely places where AI is going to make things worse. For example, phishing attacks are going to become really, really scary because with deepfake video, fake voice, and all that stuff that can be automated at scale. And when you want to do like a phishing campaign nowadays, it's really cheap. You can target a lot of people. That's really bad. There are also opportunities, as you mentioned, like even for tooling, for processes, for things where you can start to automatize things you could not do before. For example, when you do a threat model and you try to understand what are the different attack vectors of a system, you can probably rely on AI to get the first step, get the first things. There is also like some part on the development side that is going to be good and bad. Good in the sense that automated AI is going to help us to be faster to do code review and this type of things, but at the same time, more and more people are writing code without really thinking about what they are writing. When you see a smart contract which was vibe coded, it's like, yeah, it's not going to work and it's going to be full of issues. So there is pro and con probably, as you mentioned.
Yeah. So the service get easier, but you get a lot of noise.
Yeah.
For example, community audit used to be a wonderful thing. But now, when somebody can submit a community audit with ChatGPT, and it's so hard for us to understand what it's about. So the thing gets more tricky. Internally, the services get well more efficient. For us, we invest a lot of time in understanding code, and AI is doing a good job. But it's very, very tricky because of all the noise created with AI.
The better that AI gets, the harder it's going to be for like a single person, right, to not be vulnerable to AI attacks. Like the better it gets, the more smarter he is than you, the more chance you have to fall for something, right? So like we're gonna have to make sure we adjust the processes to not depend so much on like that kind of like, oh no, I can notice that I'm not being phished in this website. I can notice that this person talked to me is actually my boss and not fake. I can notice that, like, right now, I remember when you were getting phishing emails, you were looking for, like, bad language, right? Or, like, looking for bad English because, like, that's used to be an indication. Obviously, it doesn't happen anymore, right? So now we multiply this by 10. So I think we're going to have a lot of other processes compensating for the fact we will not be able to compete in that as people versus like the very sophisticated machine that knows everything about the field and about us. So that's going to be hard.
Yeah, if you see a message with dash coming from like your co-founder, be careful.
Okay, so this panel is code is law. However, we've seen things happen before where the code actually did what it was supposed to do, and it led to losses or there's like a common sense kind of component to it. So how do you guys feel about code is law versus there being some like common sense aspect to it?
So I think code is law was probably a wrong terminology that we started to use at the beginning of kind of like the blockchain technology, because it's not like code is no law, like it's not what it is at the end of the day. So I'm not a lawyer. I know there is some kind of like nuance to that, but that was never something I think we should have stand for.
I think it's for somebody coming late to this field. It's a term I got to live with. It's like we see now with the Sui attack. So if people violate the term code is law, it's getting tricky. So I think we should not sort of throw the baby with the mouthwater. There is something beautiful about your API being immutable, and we should not dismiss that. It creates a lot of trust in this field. When we work with protocol that work with immutable code tend to be more secure. It's not a general rule, but it is the case that people invest more in security and are willing to take the consequence. So I think it's maybe should be viewed as a concept, and not as like a legal thing. So because we want to say spec is law, or code is law, but the concept of immutable code is an interesting concept.
Yeah, but I don't think. Okay, I agree with you in the sense that usually protocols that are immutable might have a better security, but it's not because they are immutable. It's more because they spend more time in the security side. As a result of that, they are more okay to become immutable. So it's more in the sense that, okay, if you have that level of maturity in your security practices and everything, you might feel okay to become immutable. If you are not yet, probably you need some form of upgradability.
Yes, but you are looking at it from a security perspective. But think of the guy who's building on top of it. Okay. If I build on top of your protocol, the fact that I know that your API is immutable, make me more comfortable that tomorrow is not going to change it on me.
Yeah.
It's a great sounding bit, but I think it's a simple answer. The answer is no. We know this. Like, the answer is no. Code is not the law. The law is the law, right? Like, we know this. So, like, it sounds really good, but the reality is that when things happen, everybody looking around from outside on our ecosystem say, no, that was like, you were misunderstanding.
And that's the case for the law too. The law also.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have to say, okay, if everybody else from the outside says we were misunderstanding and they're the ones that making the rules, then we need to kind of understand it. I'm not saying code is not important, but like it's a very confusing term that gets people into, I think, sometimes not great places.
What about vibe coding? I was catching up with a security auditor friend yesterday, and he said someone submitted a full audit just from vibe coding, and it was just very terrible. So curious about thoughts on vibe coding.
On vibe code it as I'm building everything, from scratch, or from an auditor perspective, doing the audits just like vibe auditing. Which one?
Using AI to do the code for you.
Oh yeah, I mean. That's okay if you build something just for yourself. Like a good example, a couple of days ago, I needed like a VS Code plugin to do something just for me. I did like 2 prompts. It created a plugin just for me. That's fine, right? But if you do it for something which is in production and everything, like is just not there, and you will have a lot of vulnerability, you will have a lot of issues. So vibe coding is great for the security community because it gets us a lot of work, but yeah.
But I think there's actually some good things about vibe coding. There's things that we see, like the environment that people build code. For example, in Solidity, gas optimization is very, very bad. But you could actually use tools like ChatGPT to do code optimization, and they do a good job. I'm not trying to take job from people, but we have seen it, and then they use our equivalent check, and they can get a formal guarantee that it's correct. And we have seen actually working with protocol that we can save them 16 months in vibe coding. So the idea is you take a code, you write it in the sort of most naive way, and you ask ChatGPT, give me an optimized version of it. And it's, in some cases, we do a good job, and if it's not, we have automatic tool that can check, and we can give you a guarantee that the code behaves exactly as the code you want. So it's a case that you can use formal method, fuzzing, and other tools. So it's not so bad to use vibe coding when it's useful to you. It's not that you want, but
But that only works in a specific case where you can do equivalence check. If you do code optimization without that with ChatGPT, you are going to be in big trouble.
if it's just optimization, I can show you.
Yeah, I mean, for a small optimization where you can have an equivalence check.
And take a gas optimization and things like that, and it's at least in Ethereum, also in Solana, it's very tricky.
So, first of all, vibe coding is amazing. I vibe coded an app for myself because I have too many events here. So I wanted to see them on the map. So a few hours, I have what I need. I'm not going to share it with 1 million users now because that's not what you do with vibe coding. But an app for myself is something I would never do before this. So it's just not worth the time. Now suddenly the trade-off is different. Now I'm sure that there will be a lot of results of vibe coding, of people confusing the situation and thinking you can just do those 2 hours and then put money on it. And so that's definitely going to end badly for a few people. But hopefully everybody will learn from this. I will say, kind of connecting to, I think, what Mooly said earlier, vibe auditing is horrible. That's I don't want vibe auditing. Vibe coding is nice. Vibe auditing, not great. So, yeah.
All right, I think we have 2 more minutes left. So one last question for you guys. So if we could time travel, go back 1 year from now, you guys have been doing what you've been doing in this space. What is one thing you wish you knew a year ago that you know now?
For us, definitely, we ignored completely the Web 2, Web 3 aspect. We were very, very focused on the smart contract, and I think companies like 12-bit were ahead of us in terms of understanding the overall risk. We were focusing on the consensus layer, which became sort of the smart contract level, but we didn't understand, and took us a while to understand that the overall security is way bigger, and that's thanks to actually companies like 12-bit that were ahead of us. What did you do wrong? Nothing.
I think, okay.
Not liking formal verification.
I think one place where I wish I could have had more impact, today versus a year ago, is what we are observing now in the industry is that there are lots of insider threat coming from North Korea, coming from all of that. And that happened over the past probably 2, 3, 4 years when these people started to go into most of your company, and we noticed it, we knew about it, but I don't think we necessarily realize the scale of the infiltration of insider threat in the different company. And I was talking with some people from the Security Alliance a couple of days ago that were doing a bit more kind of analysis to understand, okay, who are the IT workers, the people from North Korea working in different DeFi company, and they found a ton of them, way more than what you would expect. So I think with Inside, that's something we should probably as a community should have been a bit more careful with.
Probably should have bought more NVIDIA stock.
Love that. That's amazing. Well, thank you guys so much. Great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the